What is power anyway? Power, as I define it, personal power, is something that's not necessarily visible. We can see its effects, but we cannot see power itself. In the same way that the wind blows, and we can see the effect of the wind. We can see it moving a wind turbine, or perhaps blowing the trees. If it's strong enough, a tornado or a hurricane can blow a house over, capsize a ship. We can feel the wind against our bodies and in our hair. But we can't actually see the wind, we see its effect. Because we can't see it, that doesn't imply that it's not there. Of course it's there. So power is very much like the wind. It comes and goes, no one really owns it. Some people are foolish enough to think that they possess power. You don't possess power, power possesses you. Power uses you. And you can't exactly see, unless, of course, you have very advanced inner seeing, if a person is powerful. A person can seem to be not powerful and be quite powerful. Oh, there's physical power, the ability to lift large amounts of weight. There's mental power, the ability to get an A on an examination or to give an examination. There's political power, the power to make decisions that affect the lives of other transient beings. Power is the big obstacle, or one of them, that one has to overcome and learn effectively to deal with before you can reach enlightenment. There's no way around it. You can't just ignore it and pretend it's not there and avoid it. It's something that at some point in your life you're going to have to tackle. So you shouldn't be afraid of it. Power has destroyed many, many people? Not really. Power doesn't destroy anyone. People apply it poorly, and it can ruin their lives, of course. Power is like fire. If it's controlled, it can be beneficial to your life. If it's uncontrolled, it can destroy you. But fire is neither good nor bad. It's how you use it. So personal power, then, is not necessarily sexual power, political power, intellectual power, or physical power. Yet all these attributes of power certainly come from having personal power. The ability to go down to that gym and work out on a regular basis is a reflection of a certain type of personal power. The ability to be President of the United States, the ability to win in the karate match, the ability to get the job, the ability to survive. When there are those who would like you not to survive, there can be hundreds and thousands of people who would like you to die. And if you have enough personal power, you can keep them all back. Personal power is the reflection of a person of knowledge. A person of knowledge, an enlightened person, a person even close to enlightenment, has a great deal of personal power. But they don't use that personal power to the disadvantage of others. As you know, when we look around at the world, we see people in different states of evolution, of mental development. And some people are further along, clearly. They no longer want things just for themselves. They want things for the benefit of others. Some people want things just for themselves, and then even lower on the scale, there are people who want to injure others. They derive an enjoyment from that. So we can really chart a person's evolution by how they react to the world around and within themselves, in the sense that those who their primary concern is to destroy others are at the lowest level of development. They don't understand much. They're very blind. Those who don't want to injure others particularly, but are only interested in their own satisfaction, are further along. Those who both do things for their own satisfaction primarily and for the satisfaction of others, who put energy back into the system, are even farther along. Then there are those who are, we would call them saints, who just constantly live for the welfare of others and really only do a minimum of what is necessary for their own self-preservation so they can continue to work for the welfare of others. They're even further along. Then beyond that is an enlightenment, an enlightened person who is not bound by any system. They've already gone through all those stages from probably the worst to the best in one lifetime or another. And now, having passed through the saint stage, they become something else. They're off the map. But that's a topic for another time. Power. Personal power, as I suggested, is something that is invisible. And in my opinion, everybody, including you, my friend, everybody wants it. Now, you might think to yourself, well, gosh, I've never really sought power. I would disagree with you. What is power? Power is a feeling of satisfaction, a feeling of being in control. And I believe everybody wants that. Everybody wants to be in control, and everybody wants satisfaction. Fulfillment. It's a basic drive. Two basic drives. And while you may seek that feeling in other things, a good dinner, going to bed with somebody you like, pulling off a coup in a business deal, appreciating some art in the art gallery, being alone in solitude and just enjoying your mind, going dancing, competitive sports, non-competitive sports, intellectual achievement, whatever it may be that you get a kick out of, that feeling that you enjoy when you have those experiences, or the feeling you seek, which you may or may not get through those experiences, is the experience of power, of satisfaction. Now, most people don't realize it. They assume that that feeling can only come through experiences that they enjoy. They don't realize that that feeling is a reflection of personal power. And you can really get that feeling from absolutely anything when you know how. It's not specific to one thing or another. The feeling of power comes from within you. Something is triggering or releasing it. So personal power, then, is invisible. It's something everybody wants. We can see its reflection while we can't see it directly. We can see it in someone who has a powerful life, someone who is able to get what they want to get or avoid what they want to avoid. And the more a person is able to do this, we say the more power they have. That's one level of personal power. Now, naturally, there's an entirely different level of personal power, and that's when we enter into the world of the psychic and the world of the occult and the world of the spiritual and so on. Here, personal power is the ability to enter into different planes of reality. There are many, many different worlds. Just as there are different continents on the earth, just as there are different universes, there are different dimensions, dimensional planes. And one can move from one dimensional plane into another. You can go into them, you can stay in them. There are thousands of them. Each one is a different universe, isn't even the right word. Some are much more enjoyable, some are less enjoyable. There are dimensions of power, there are dimensions of knowledge, there are dimensions of confusion. The universe is a very, very big place, and to think the universe is only composed of the physical universe is to be rather short-sighted. All of the physical universes put together, stretching out endlessly, are only a fraction of the totality of reality. In other words, all of the physical universes are only part of the physical dimensional plane. And there are thousands of dimensional planes. And in different lifetimes, you incarnate in different dimensional planes, let alone in different universes in the physical universe. Personal power is the ability to go into those other planes, to cross that threshold from one dimension to another. It takes a lot of power to do that. Why do that? Why go down the street to the local supermarket? Why go to the art gallery? Why ever deal with another person? Because it's there to do. Because knowledge lies in those other dimensions. Power lies in those other dimensions. Beauty. Everything that's here and more. It's part of your world. That's why. It's part of the universe. It's part of you. Everything that is part of you. And as you pass through the other dimensions, you get an education and you change and you grow, just as you received an education in grammar school, high school, and at the university. Just as you receive an education if you take a trip to Japan or go to Hawaii or go to London. Just as you get a very different type of education if you go out to the desert, to the places of power. Places where it's easy to cross over from one dimensional plane to another, where power hovers, so to speak. A great deal has been written about personal power by a fellow named Carlos Castaneda, and I find his first 4 books are valuable in this sense. After that, they don't make much sense to me. But I think, based upon my own experience, the first 4 books that he's written in his series about Don Juan and Don Genaro, they make a lot of sense. The principles in them, of the experiences themselves, who knows? Fantasy, reality. But the principles that are presented via the teacher Don Juan and Don Genaro in those first 4 books, Tales of Power, Journey to Ixtlan, A Separate Reality, and the teachings of Don Juan, are quite valuable for one who seeks power. The big problem with power, of course, is obsession. Once you begin to get some of it and feel it, it dominates your whole life and it's all you can think about. That doesn't have to happen. But as a person progresses along the path of power, you attract certain forces and beings to you from other dimensions who feel the power that you're storing. Sometimes they want some of it, sometimes they want to ruin you. We call these beings entities. Today it's very popular to do a thing we call channeling. There are all these groups out there and people are trying to channel entities and have these beings come through them at little seance sessions, which in my estimation is downright ridiculous and dangerous. I mean, anyone who had gone and seen the movie Poltergeist would know that, right? Entities are beings that are dead, and they're the lowest beings on the evolutionary scale because they don't even know that they're dead. You see, the universe is made up to work in a very specific way. Okay, the system's design is great. The idea is that when you're alive, and when you're dead, you're dead. When you're dead, you're not really dead, but you go into another dimension for a while where you have different experiences, and then when it's time, you reincarnate and you're alive again. This process goes on forever unless you attain enlightenment and you're able to go beyond this circle of birth and death, which doesn't mean that you're not alive, and it doesn't mean that you might not die, but you're no longer affected by birth and death. Your personality doesn't dissolve at death. You're always conscious, you might say. The two don't really seem like different states to you because you can see beyond both. In any case, entities are beings, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, who don't know they're dead. By that I mean that they have died, but what they seek is life again, and they don't realize, they're so stupid, they don't realize that they should be dead for a while and enjoy being dead. They'll be alive again, they'll reincarnate. So what they do, they're very confused. They don't even realize that they're dead. They come into the world of the living where they don't really belong.